called Emmeline.
Emmeline. Okay.
And we were not together for very long.
Yeah.
All those people are still involved in music, so I think that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
One of them actually like teaches drum lessons in New York. Like she's like, yeah, and like lives in New York and like drums for a church and like teaches drum lessons.
That's cool.
Super cool person. So it's everyone kind of stuck with that, but I played guitar, rhythm guitar and vocals. Had another guy playing lead guitar, bass player, synth player.
Oh man.
And chick drummer, yeah.
Dang.
And the synth player was female as well. So shout out
Pretty
to
elaborate for high school band.
Morgan, Jackson, Trevor, and Cora for Emmeline back there, dude. Like if any of these guys happen to hear this, that'd be crazy. But anyway, so that was, and yeah.
What'd you guys play?
Metal. It was like metal. Yeah. Like one of the guys was really into Finch. If you're familiar with them, is like kind of poppy metal, maybe. I don't know a good way to describe that. It's like angsty, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But really melodic, like big chord progression. Finch is really cool. You should check him out if you like that kind of music. It's like more like hard rock, I guess. Now it's not like it was like Meshuggah or anything like that, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But we consider ourselves to be metal, and so that was like. So I did heavy vocals. And it was all about the breakdowns, you know, like the kick drum following the rhythm of the guitar. And
nice.
So I did heavy vocals and singing.
Mm.
And then that kind of disbanded and then like slowly morphed into this other band. Well, I think Jack was in that band with me too, my buddy Jack Watson. And he also did heavy vocals, I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to remember now. Yeah, it was because there's pictures of him in our band photos. So there's band photos on my Facebook of that band. If you go like the very first picture I ever posted to Facebook was like me in that band
shot.
And it was taken on a razor, so it's like you can't even see it. It's so small in the picture. But
awesome.
And I'm pretty sure like my pants are off, like just in my boxers, like.
Dang, dude.
Yeah.
That
so yeah.
It's like
so
I'm already about it.
oh man, what a time! But so we did that, and then
did you keep the same drummer?
No, so we kind of morphed, and then
so you don't really see a lot of girl drummers, like
no,
but she's great. In that genre especially.
Yeah, and she's great. She's a great drummer. And that's
cool.
The one that's she still teaches lessons
cool.
in New York. So that was really cool. And then I did this other band that we called ourselves A Perfect Mistake, and I'm just like,
nice.
like
nice.
Oh, dude, like what were we thinking? It was just so bad, so bad. And
so
we
angry?
were all so bad.
Is it angry or sad?
Oh, always sad.
Okay.
Always sad. Always sad. Don't even trip on that.
I should have known, man.
So we that band played more shows. It was me and Jack, so still the same vocalist. Jack didn't play any instruments. He just did heavy vocals. I did some heavy vocals and some singing. Played rhythm guitar still. And then had multiple different bass players, and then sometimes didn't have a bass player, and kind of just like this rotating crew of people.
Mm-hmm.
And then Eric, shout out to Eric Shoemaker, our drummer, and some of you guys may know him from, he played in the band Anchors for quite some time from Nebraska, kind of in that same genre. So that kind of started at the same time that we were ending that band.
Okay.
But I mean, we got to play with some cool. That's where I met Jason Payne. When I Dr. Payne's son. But, yeah. So a lot of people, if you're from Kearney, you probably know Jason Payne. But I met him when I was in that band. I had a buddy that Derek that did. I had a bunch of Erics and Dereks in my life.
Sounds like it.
But Derek was like doing competitive video gaming. I've never understood that world, but like. Apparently, it was like a big deal.
Before it was esports?
Yeah, whatever it was. Whatever the big game with the bug people were. I don't remember what that game was called. Gears of War.
Back in the day?
Yeah, back in the day. Back when it was like Xbox 360 or whatever. And he was like really trying to monetize this YouTube channel, and so he like started doing this whole thing. And he had this show like out in a cornfield in the middle of nowhere, and the bands that played were A Perfect Mistake, my band, and we were horrible. Give to the Winds, who was amazing. Their music's on Spotify. Check them out. I want to talk about a killer metal band, Give to the Winds, which now their lead vocalist, Jeremy Schaefer, he is in Earth Groans, which is like still touring and doing stuff. He owns All Poetic, runs All Poetic Audio in Scotland, South Dakota. So that band, also shout out to Brian Lane and Jake Fisher, and Jason Payne was in that band at that time. So that's where I met him in a cornfield. I bummed a Camel White off of him, and I was like, who smokes these? And so it was them, us, and For All Those Sleeping. No joke, For All Those Sleeping. Like, they're legit,
pretty huge?
like, pretty big time.
I don't know, man. I'm not familiar.
Not my style, but it was literally, like, that had to have been, like, 2009. And, like, 2010, they were, like, on the cover of AP Magazine.
Oh, jeez.
And I was just like, buh? It was just super weird. Yeah. And I think These Hearts was there, too, which they've also been on AP magazine. So that brings me a little bit farther back in time to, like, my first metal show that I ever went to that was, like, a local show was in Yankton, South Dakota at a VFW. And that's where I met Jeremy Schaefer. He was in a band called Soul Fight at the time. And same kind of thing. It was like metal, and he was doing heavy vocals and drumming, which talk about an aerobic workout. Crazy, like, man. Holy cow. And dude could shred both. Yeah. And so Soul Fight was playing, and this is back when you listened to music. Like, when we played shows with bands, you had to look them up on MySpace.
Oh, yes.
So, I mean, just
That's
like,
awesome.
What? Like, I was like, I can't believe that was a thing. Like, now thinking back to it, I'm like, yeah, dude, like, I had to look them up on MySpace because, like, Facebook wasn't a thing that people did. So, and These Hearts was the other band that was there. And I remember just thinking they're so good. And, like, now I, like, look back and it's like, oh, my God. Like, I mean, no diss to the dudes in These Hearts. They're cool guys or whatever. But it was just like, wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so then that kind of gets me up to my college years. In college, I played in a band called Andy's Axis for almost 3 years. And started out, I played guitar and did heavy vocals, and then soon found that I couldn't coordinate the level of vocal stuff I wanted to do and also play guitar. Yeah. Because I was a crappy guitar player. And because I didn't have any gear. Back then, you didn't know me then. I was bad. So don't give me that look. Like, I was really bad. And I had, like, nothing for gear. So it was, like, a blessing that I quit playing guitar during that time.
Let's focus on it.
So, and that was with Parker Lowry, who's still in GI, super cool cat. One of the best musicians I've ever, just natural musician, like, that I've ever met. Amazing songwriter. He also did this side project thing called Plain Fire that you can find, I think, on Spotify and, like, iTunes and stuff. And produced it in his dorm room, and it's just amazing. Nice. Like, so good. Nice. Like, explosions in the sky, Cloud Kicker-esque, like, really, really good music that he produced, all with his Line 6. Nice. Spider or whatever he was running at the time. But it was him, and then we kind of had a rotating crew there, too. So Eric Berge played bass for us for a while. When we started out, Nate Skinner from Salt Creek and Lighthouses. Nice. And a ton of stuff. Yeah, my homie, Miss Nate and I were roommates for like 2 years in college. So we lived together in the dorms and we lived together in a house. Yeah. So he played drums. He was the original drummer for the band. Trying to remember how that was. And then Billy joined the band, Billy Keeling. So shout out to Billy. And then when Eric stopped playing bass with us, so Billy was playing kind of rhythm guitar. Well, I mean, it was both rhythm guitar. There was really no leads. It was all chugging. Yeah. But then when Eric left the band, Taylor Miller came in and joined us on. No, sorry. When Eric left the band, Nate Richardson filled in on bass. What? For like 6 months.
On bass?
On bass. And stage presence. That's what he provided, man. That guy has the best stage presence. Like, he has a really good one. He's fun to watch. So, yeah, like back in the day. So pre-high school, that's where I met Nate Richardson, too, was in Norfolk at the Johnny Carson House. At the Johnny Carson House in Norfolk, Nebraska. Is where I first saw Lighthouses, and that's back when Alex was playing, and Nate Richardson was playing drums.
Oh, crazy.
And I don't remember who was playing bass, but I know I met Perry during that time frame too. But I don't know if Perry was in that band or not.
I think I heard that he was.
Yeah, I'd have to
Cruz
double
said he
check with Perry.
But I haven't asked him either about it.
Because, I mean, Lighthouse kind of morphed into something way different later. Because back then it was all instrumental. There was no singing.
Oh, okay.
You know, it was, and Nate was using like samples, like on a sample pad and stuff.
Really?
Like, it was like, yeah, and like it was one of the first times live I heard someone use like a sample of like someone speaking and playing music over top of it, and like these just really dense textures. So I was just
That's cool.
totally blown away. Like I had no idea what I was like seeing, you know, in this tiny little dilapidated basement. These things, Johnny Carson House makes it sound like a cool thing. It's the childhood home of Johnny Carson. You know, the Johnny Carson,
believe that,
who's from Norfolk, Nebraska.
When we played there, I was like, what the fuck?
Did
Johnny
you play
Carson?
there?
Yeah, well, when we played there at District Tap and Table, and literally right next to the bar, there's like that giant mural of Johnny Carson. I was like, what the fuck? He's from Nebraska?
He's from Norfolk, dude.
I was like, what the hell? The Johnny Carson?
Yeah. Well, so that house is like gone now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so when I was in college, it was maybe...
How did you guys play shows in
like
there?
2000. Well, so it was rented. Like they had a little sign out front.
Like,
they had a little sign out front, like the childhood home of Johnny Carson, and then they rented it to like college kids.
What? That's
like
stupid.
they like wrecked it. But it wasn't a nice house, you know what I mean,
they just
or
didn't
anything
want
like
to
that.
keep
But
it
they threw
there.
house shows there.
Johnny Carson.
And
That's awesome.
yeah, it was legit. But that's where I
so
first
cool.
met Nate Richardson before I came to college. And it's just funny how all that stuff lines up.
Yeah.
But,
Wow.
it was just wild, you know, and we. It was just like dirty, nasty house shows, you know, like, and I loved it. You know, I loved every minute of it. I loved the standing outside, smoking a cigarette, pretending to be cool, you know, all that stuff. But it was a really, like, I look back on that time of my life, like, with a lot of nostalgia. It's not something I'd probably want to do now,
right
but
now.
I'm glad that I did it, you know.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome.
yeah, so that was super cool. And, you know, Annie's Axis, we played a lot and had a decent followship. And we recorded an album in my trailer house.
Nice.
And Devin Marr, so back to the Annie's Axis thing. Nate Skinner left the band and went, because he was getting more serious with Lighthouses, which was the right choice for him at the time, even though I was upset.
Yeah.
And so Devin Marr, also from Kearney, filled in on drums and played with us for like the last year or so that we were together.
Okay.
And Devin also played guitar in the band Superior from Omaha.
I don't know.
So they're not around anymore either.
Yeah.
But, you know, those guys were legit and they played with a lot of cool people and like hooked us up with some stuff. Like we got to play with them and like, you know, did some shows at like So Cold Underground and stuff like that, which was cool because they had, you know, like metal only shows. And, you know, got to meet like August Burns Red and like the Contortionist and stuff like that, you know, and all that stuff. So it was super cool to do that and meet those guys. And probably the biggest thing that we got to do that was really cool with Annie's Axis, other than me, because like we produced the album and like got it done, and then we quit playing.
Oh shit!
Because we came out with the album on like January like 10th of 2013. Well, my daughter was born on January 6th of 2013. You know what I mean? So it's like I was already like, I'm out, you
this
know.
is it, we're done, yeah.
And Devin was joining the military, and Parker was graduating, and Billy was graduating. And we were just like, this is not going to happen, you know.
It's kind of more like it naturally just faded.
Yeah, it's naturally just kind of dissolved. But we played a good amount of shows with a band called Phineas, which they're still together. They're like Christian metal band from the LA area.
Kind of sounds familiar for some reason.
Yeah, so like they played with us in Kearney like 2 or 3 times, and then we played with them in Grand Island once. So shout out to all the guys from Phineas, Lee, Sean, Bryce. All you guys are super dope dudes. So if you ever hear this, I know we're still friends on Facebook, so maybe you'll hear if I post this later, share it. But we got to play with them, and I have a funny story about that because also another great band. We never got to play with them, but is like a, you know, associated kind of through those guys is a band called Silent Planet, who's still out and killing it. They've got a newish album out that's really, really good. So check them out. Silent Planet. C.S. Lewis reference. So, but they were like one of my favorite bands at the time. And like so much so that my ringtone was their song Deaths.
Oh, nice.
And it starts off with like this big like vocal, you know, and the guy's like, Gatekeeper, you know, like just does this like huge reverb, like really big.